Wow, it's really over. Hey, what's up, nerd fam? This is your boy Gashawn. I'm going to welcome you to Into the Nerd. Whether you love Frankenstein, vampires, werewolves, whatever supernatural stuff, and even if it's science fiction, comics, whatever, you might find something that you like in this channel. So make sure you like this video and subscribe to get some more of this content. So, about a month ago, maybe a month or actually a little more than a month ago, one of the favorite series of mine, Supernatural, ended. And I know a lot of people must have loved that show because it was around for 15 years, from 2005 to 2020. It had 15 seasons. Now, this show was awesome. Already by season 11, it was like the longest running fantasy show on TV, right? It was already that. But it did a lot of things right in terms of storytelling. It managed to take a story which began as like an episodic, following two brothers, Sam and Dean Winchester, which was starring Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki. I know I should be saying that right. Two brothers who were hunters, hunting all manners of supernatural things, whether it be, vampires, werewolves, ghosts, ghouls, and demons, stuff like that. Every episode was a different thing, like, monster of the week type of thing. Also, there was an overarching story that was just surrounding the brothers anyway. So while defeating those monsters, because that was their occupation, it was still serving towards whoever the main antagonist of that season was, which was a very good formula. And they even had some episodes which were kind of like goofball episodes, which really didn't mean much of anything to the larger story, but it was very, very amusing. And it kind of showed that the people who created the show, specifically like Eric Kripke, didn't take it too seriously, but knew people loved the show. I also loved the transition that it took, because when you started talking about ghosts and ghouls, and obviously demons were present from the very first episode, but you just didn't know what demons were. And then as soon as they started fleshing out what demons were, which was, like corrupted souls, like heavily corrupted souls, like that were living, and then over time became super powered and stuff, and then the whole crossroad demon thing. If I haven't already mentioned, there are spoilers.
Many spoilers in this
right now. So please, if you haven't watched Supernatural, turn this off. Right. Besides demons, obviously, they started introducing angels, which I thought really turned the show around, because angels, as you know, in most works, are usually the good guys. But in this, they represented the side of good, but they had their own motivations, and it also turns out that, God is technically not necessarily, he's the creator, but he's not necessarily a good guy either, right? And I liked that turn, how they turned that on its head. I know some people were probably pissed off at that, but it was great. And they gave all the angels and demons different personalities and tied them to Christian theology, obviously, and even went from specific stuff, so not just Christian, specific into Catholicism and Protestant, and then going into Judaism and Egyptian mythology and Greek mythology and Norse mythology. They just went all over the place, and it was, but they did it in a way. Now I know that sounds like a lot, so if you haven't watched the show, you're like, that's a lot of stuff. How they do that in this entire show? They really did weave it very well. They made them all exist at one time and kind of gave them a hierarchy, because God, the main God, created all of it, and they made that really, really well written, which is something that is really hard, especially for a show that's around for 15 seasons, to keep fresh. And obviously, anybody who loves Sam and Dean, they also got on your nerves, because there was the similar tropes that they had, which is they will let the world burn to save each other type of thing. But it's that's just who the characters were. And obviously there's that famous season 7 with the Leviathans that everybody hated, because they were really bad. Even the people who made the show hated it, because that was kind of like a filler season, because I think they thought the show was going to end the season before, and they had to just come up with a season really quickly, and it was really bad. And they even made jokes about it in the show. Yeah, just look up. That's actually the funny thing about that season, is you can watch the entire show, and if you don't watch that season, you're actually okay. Mostly, like you're literally mostly okay. You really don't have to watch that season. You can just watch the rest of the show. I really like that. The show was just awesome. I mean, and another fan favorite was Castiel, who was like the angel who pretty much pulled Dean from hell to begin with. And at first, he was just like just a guest character, and then because people loved him so much, he became part of the regular cast. And Misha Collins, who plays him, obviously like was very grateful for that. And he really came into the role because before Castiel was like very monotone and very just faithful soldier, faithful son type of thing, and then started growing into his own personality when he realized God just didn't care. And then watch that character change. Like all the characters were fleshed out. They all started one way and then they ended another way. And then some characters still had certain traits that were either really positive or negative, and they kept those but got those traits tested. And I really like that. And they still never strayed from the main thing, was that they're hunters. So even when it was a big storyline, there was an apocalypse and, like I said, the Leviathans and all types of things, they still were hunting ghosts. They still were hunting ghouls. That never went away. Them being hunters was still the main idea of like who they were. It was part of their identity, their family's identity. It's what their father taught them. Played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, by the way. So another awesome actor. Like a lot of great actors came out of here. Eric Kripke, the guy who's directing this, by the way, is also directing The Boys right now. And as if some people might know, Jensen Ackles is going to be in The Boys season 3 as Soldier Boy. So not really a coincidence. So I definitely plucked them right out of that show. Now, obviously, if you've seen the ending of season 15, the final season, you'll know it was a bit lackluster. And obviously, I don't blame them because the pandemic definitely made it so not everyone could be there. I read an article where they wanted to pretty much make a reunion and have everyone come back, but it just wasn't possible. So even though it was lackluster, I know it's not what they wanted, so I give them kind of a pass on that. But yeah, I love the show. It didn't sour the entire show for me, and I could watch it all over again. And you literally see them grow up. You see them, like, especially Sam, you see him going from super young man to like who he is now. Like, I think he found his wife on the show too, who was Ruby, the demon, right? So pretty crazy. Like, I'm sad that it's over, especially because like I like those characters a lot. And I'm sure some of the people who, I read an article, they said somebody said 15 years of queer baiting over. And I'm like, queer baiting? I'm like, and they were talking about Sam and Dean apparently, and I'm like, but they're brothers. Why are people? Whatever. That's for to each his own, right? Whatever. But the whole point is we love these characters. Keep on watching it. It's on Netflix. In the CW app if you have it as well. It's definitely worth giving it a watch. It's all finished, so you can binge it. I highly recommend it, and I usually don't recommend a whole bunch of shows that are like 15 seasons. They usually at some point they get really, really bad. And this show actually managed to keep like a pretty consistent flow going, except for that season 7 I told you about. But really good stuff. And it did get progressively better as a show. It did, which is very hard to do in 15 seasons. Alright? But that's really all I'm going to say about that. I want you just to give this a watch. So remember, keep on liking zombies, vampires, werewolves, whatever. Hunt some own ghosts yourself. But please do not forget to enter the nerd.